So I promised this morning I was going to unveil some news, and obviously I will. But before I do, let me start with a bit of an introduction. We previewed MySource Mini last year at the previous user conference, and I think a lot of people were impressed with some of the new functionality that was available in it, particularly the inline WYSIWYG editing. In April this year, we actually launched the product, and we launched it as an appliance. So people were able to get access to a MySource Mini, which included hardware and the software embedded in it, including all of the maintenance of the system managed for you remotely through an update system. The MySource Mini as an appliance sold for $12.5 grand. There are discounts available depending on the deal you're taking advantage of at the time. And we have the automatic up-to-date system, which makes looking after the system really simple. It's an important innovation for being able to look after the complex CMS. There was one limitation that was important at the time, and that limitation is the fact that you could only have one site in a MySource Mini. We've subsequently released a patch to current MySource Mini users that allows them to have up to 5 sites in a MySource Mini system. So there's already been a change since we launched it in April. MySource Mini isn't MySource Matrix. There is a difference in their function set. There's a lot more features in MySource Matrix, as you all know, even just listening to the sessions yesterday and the sorts of things that are dealt with by the help desk. It's clearly a fully featured system capable of doing many different things, and with that there comes some complexity. MySource Mini is also very young, so as a result we don't have all of the different extensions that are available in MySource Matrix yet. And as we've said before at the previous conferences, the code and the systems that run underneath MySource Mini are part of the direction that we're taking the development of the CMS now, and it's going to become the future and the benefit and the code and the system that everyone here will end up running in the future, we hope. There's many innovations in MySource Mini. There's the inline editor, obviously. We'll see some more of that today during the Mini presentation in a little while. Really, that's advanced a lot. There's a lot of features that have been added to it that I think everyone will like. We know there are frustrations with the current WYSIWYG editor. All WYSIWYG editors seem to have frustrations as far as editing is concerned. So we just took that head on and decided we were going to write our own from scratch. And we really think we're leading the market with what's available there. In fact, the head of IT at Cambridge University, and I won't quote him exactly because it's rude, said something along the lines of, "Oh my God, that's absolutely amazing." And his job is to actually evaluate this technology internationally. So I really think we're on a winner. Underneath the Mini, even though we call it a Mini and we say it's got a limited function set, is a very powerful architecture, a much more powerful architecture than sits underneath MySource Matrix. We've been working on this for quite a few years now, and it's going to allow us to build much more powerful systems, more flexible systems, and easier to maintain systems. Also more integratable systems, which is very important as well. Every system in the Mini as we've built them has been rethought. So whether it's looking at things like workflow, whether it's looking at versioning, every single system that you're used to within the MySource Matrix has been rethought and is much, much better. It's significantly advanced. One of the key benefits of the MySource Mini, and one of the things that we've put a lot of time and attention into, is reducing the amount of people time that's involved in being able to adopt a system. Matrix is powerful, but because it's powerful and it's complicated to install, we need a lot of people involved in actually getting that system up and running. You need training, there's complexity around installation, there's complexity around maintenance and being able to keep your system updated with the service level agreements that we provide. All of that complexity obviously increases cost. And so one of the things that we've thought of from the very, very beginning is how can we reduce that? How can we automate that? How can we give more of that to you to be in control of and make it simpler for you, and therefore overall reduce the total cost of ownership without compromising the functionality of the system, in fact, increasing the functionality of the system. We've done a lot as far as that's concerned, and we've so far got to a point that sometime next year, we will be able to announce a migration strategy path for people who are using MySource Matrix to be able to use MySource Mini within their organisation and be able to take the content from Matrix and use it within Mini. So when we do that, at that time, we'll rename MySource Mini because the name will no longer be appropriate for it, and that will begin the path of the new CMS that will eventually end up replacing MySource Matrix. So every time I've got up, I said it's a few years away. Well, next year's the year when this is actually going to really begin to pick up some speed. I mentioned we've got a new logo, and part of our new logo is the supported open source solutions in our tagline. Well, as part of Squiz's affirmation of this, and part of this as part of our identity, I'm happy to announce today 2 things. First of all, the VM images that you each have in your packs, we're also making available for free download from the site. So everyone is going to be able to get access to minis from now on to download for free from the site. The reason why we've chosen to do it as a VM is exactly what I was saying before. It simplifies the installation. There's a lot of different applications that work together to be able to make the functionality of Mini possible, and this is the simplest way of being able to get the system up and running. I'm also announcing today that the code base of the Mini is going GPL, completely GPL. There's not going to be an SSV version in the system, it's completely GPL. And public subversion repository, that's the code repository that drives the MySource Mini, is also going to be available very soon. We've just got to get the servers set up and get that running properly. So that's obviously a big advance for us. We feel that the SSV version at the moment is complex for some people, and now with the update system, we find we can simplify a lot of that for everyone. And we're going to make 2 versions of the update service available to everyone. The commercial service is going to be $5 grand a year, and we will automatically manage all of the upgrades and the maintenance of the system for you. But there'll also be exactly the same service available for personal users, which will only be $250 a year. The distinction between the commercial and the personal use is basically a personal user is someone who's building a site for a non-professional organisation. We're defining a professional organisation in the same way that the ATO defines people who need to be registered for an ABN. So basically, if you've got a turnover of more than 50 grand and you're building a site for something like that, then you should be using the commercial version rather than the personal version. So that's obviously big news, we feel, and we think it's going to actually very quickly raise the adoption of Mini and accelerate the development that's operating in that product. We've also, to make it a little bit easier, obviously, if you're able to host your own, VMs or just test the system yourself, we do have a cloud setup where people are able to implement the system in only a few minutes, and then it costs something like 10 cents an hour to be able to run the system. So you can just evaluate it, give it more resources if you need to. It's a pretty inexpensive way of being able to get access to quickly a MySource Mini and use it for a project that you might have, a temporary project, for example. That was announcement number 1. I've actually got 2 announcements today, which should be good for everyone. The second announcement relates to MySource Matrix and Funnelback. As you all know, Squiz acquired Funnelback earlier in the year, and you must be wondering what are we going to be doing as far as this is concerned. In a little while, David's going to get up and he's actually going to explain in a lot more detail how what I'm about to announce now is going to operate. We're going to make a version of Funnelback available to all SSV users of MySource Matrix for free. So there's a version of Funnelback that will be integrated within the product that will allow you to search content within MySource Matrix, and it doesn't come at an additional licensing fee or anything. It's going to actually be embedded within the product. The benefit of doing this, well, there's many benefits. Obviously, tremendous search is a benefit in its own right. But also, it underscores our belief that content management is fundamentally changing, and it's going to continue to change this year. And the people aren't going to rely so much on navigation structures that are designed by individuals, where people do eye exercises and try to work out how should people actually navigate through their content. Instead, they're going to rely on the technology to be smarter than that. They're going to rely on the technology being able to personalize the navigation for individual users, in effect, and respond to what is interesting for the user and the context that they're operating within. And that's obviously what search is all about. Search is about being able to find those relationships and the relevance of those relationships between content items. And keyword search is what we are most used to using, but obviously, really what lies underneath search is the fact that you're actually trying to dynamically find those relationships and the relevance. And as we add this functionality, and you'll see some of it today, obviously the power of MySource Matrix and what you're able to do with it, and MySource Mini, and what we end up calling it as a CMS in the future, will obviously grow and be of benefit to everyone. So hopefully that's good news and well received by everyone. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dave.